It's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Max on a Borderlands 3 video, and today I've got Comet Queen Amara, a brand new Amara build using a new interaction that summons literal comets from the sky to deal millions of damage. Now, real quick before we dive into the video, two things. One, I did not discover this mechanic. I take no credit for it. It was discovered by a guy named Lone Masterino. His channel will be down in the description. Huge shout out to him. And also, if you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out. And with that, guys, let's get into the video. So the interaction that Lone Masterino discovered has to do with the shooting star. Now, the shooting star, you may recognize this. It's a base game shield. It's been in the game since launch. It was used a lot, like level 50, level 53, and this shield can be acquired from Turnkey Tim in Floodmore Basin, same guy that drops the Maggie, and you're going to want an elemental shooting star. We'll talk about that more in a second. But this shield, it reads, while depleted, successful melee, summon a projectile dealing 21k damage. Now, the way this works is, if your shield is depleted and you do melee damage, it summons a comet to land on the head of whoever you meleeed. The interaction that makes this thing so strong is that it works with the Kensei class mod. After activating her action skill, Amara deals 10% bonus melee damage of her attuned element type with her weapons for the next 6 seconds. Now, this like blew my mind because the Kensei notoriously does not work with anything that interacts with melee. It doesn't work with the white elephant. It doesn't work with the static charge. It doesn't work with the unleash the dragon. It just doesn't work with things that activate from melee damage, except for the shooting star. Somehow the shooting star slipped through the cracks, and after you activate your action skill, any damage that you deal and the amount of times that you deal that damage will summon comets. Now, what's so crazy about this is you can use any weapon. We're not focused at weapon damage at all. All of this build is focused on making the comets do as much damage as possible. So think of your weapons as just ways to apply the comets. And for that, you can use anything you want. Shooting a Kill-A-Wisp up into the air, all of the little chains that'll do, all the little like static electricity it'll do, will summon tons of comets from the air to rain down on enemies. The reflux, all of the chains of the reflux summon comets down. The recursion, you can shoot the recursion into a room, summon comets. You can walk around with a dark army and have the dark army drones shoot for you and summon comets. You can throw a hunter seeker into the air and all of the hunter seeker projectiles will summon comets. I think you could probably see, I probably said summon comets too many times already. I might have hit my quota, but you can get as creative with this build as you want because your weapon really doesn't matter. It's just a way to apply damage. The more pellets, the more projectiles, the more enemies you can hit, the better, the more comets you will spawn. Now, the way we're making these comets deal so much damage is, first off, they're going to deal the amount of elemental damage that your shield has on it. So like, this does fire damage because it's a fire resistance shield. This corrosive resistance shield will do corrosive damage. So if you're fighting Wotan, you're going to want a corrosive shooting star. Next up, these comets get shield scaling. So on Mayhem 10, they're going to get times 31 damage. They also scale with your elemental damage and your splash damage bonuses. So you can use any weapon. The best anoint for you is going to be 200 splash damage. 200 splash damage will give the projectiles more damage, and a lot of this build, once we get to the skill tree, will be focused on splash damage. But this build is so crazy because it literally just uses any weapon you want and makes it look extremely powerful because you can one-shot Grave Ward with one tap of a Tiggs Boom, and it'll summon 18 comets to come and murder Grave Ward. Now, before you go running off and like use this yourself, because there are some caveats and there are some things that you guys need to know that I ran into. First off, this does not work everywhere. Due to how these projectiles work and the fact that they spawn at a specific point in the sky on the map means if there's walls, if there's ceilings, even if the map is too high or too low, it can interfere with this. I've had times where technically the enemies where I was fighting were above the point where the projectiles would spawn, and then they would just fly up into the floor and not deal any damage. It works in about 40% of the maps that I've tried, and for that reason, I caution you for like making this your full-time build because it doesn't work everywhere, but where it does work, it works incredibly well enough that I figured I would show this to you guys because I wanted to share it to y'all. Next up, your shield needs to be depleted. You need to have your shooting star depleted, and because of that, you need a way to deplete it. You can just walk around and get hit by enemies. It's a really good way. Other two ways are using something like a burning summit grenade, which you can get by killing yourself by the sellout quest 20 times. You'll get a burning summit in your inventory. This is a good way to drop your shields. Enemies will drop your shields. The sellout pistol is a good way to drop your shields. But one of the coolest interactions with this shooting star shield and the Kensei that you couldn't really use too much before is it works with fake grasping. Fake grasping, nerfed into the ground, doesn't work with your action skill and anoints. You're not going to get 200 splash damage. You're not going to get your anoints. But when you're fake grasping, you're actually proccing Kensei. So you can keep up this melee damage all the time, meaning that as long as you're fake grasping, you can just fire your weapons in the air, and as long as your shield is down, you can just continuously fire your weapons into the air or at your enemies or whatever what kind of weapon setup you're using. With fake grasping, they will constantly be triggering meteors to kill all the enemies around you. So fake grasping, the summits, and also if you're going to be dropping your shields with a like burning summit or a salad, using an elemental projector to get even more damage is going to push the damage of this from like here all the way up to here, and then we'll get into our skill tree. But genuinely, like for the weapons, they don't matter. As whatever weapon you want, if you want to pull out a white Vladoff pistol and shoot enemies with it, the damage of the weapon isn't going to change the damage of the Comet unless it's 200 splash. That is why for anointments we're either using 200 splash because we're using our action skill, or running around with consecutive hits, because consecutive hits you don't need to proc your action skill, and consecutive hits works without works with fake grasping. So consecutive hits and splash, you're gonna want an ASE element on your shooting star. You want a Kensei with splash damage is the number one thing, and you want an elemental projector with area of effect damage. All of these will boost your damage even higher. Now let's get into the skill tree. For the skill tree, there's not too much that like is super must have here. Honestly, there are some things for splash damage that Amara can grab that are super helpful, such as heavy rain. Splash damage is really nice. You're gonna want restless as much cooldown. I really like having avatar so I can use my fake grasp and grasp things at the same time, using awakening with alacrity for extra reload speed, because if you're reloading you can't be calling down comets. A little bit of from rest for charge speed with Malawan weapons such as the Kill-A-Wisp is really nice. Laid Bare, if you do hit things, they're going to take more damage. Remnant, and then here I grab Tempest, Illuminated Fist. Now these projectiles aren't going to benefit from Kensei melee. So all of the melee benefits that you're picking up are mainly just for your weapon, and once again we don't really care about your weapon damage. So there isn't like too much. Indiscriminate chains will not count for these comet procs. You need to actually hit them with your weapon. Sustainment for life here, and Finder Center arm seal for splash damage. None of these make too much of a difference. It is nice to grab as much as you can into like splash damage, and some melee damage is nice, but your skill tree is flexible. The biggest thing here that you need is splash damage, some cooldown, double action skills, and elemental damage to push the damage of these comets as high as you can go. And yeah guys, that's kind of the whole thing. Basically you could fake grasp, you shoot these comets. The most tough part about these is that they are super inconsistent. Let's do a real quick kill here, and then we're gonna head off. 200 splash Tiggs Boom. The Tiggs Boom I'm using here because it is a ×18 pellets. Your pellets you really do care about, because each pellet will be an individual comet. So like the Tiggs Boom, a Stagecoach, the Monarch, the Light Show, anything that can pump out pellets is going to be really good here. We're gonna use, let's use a little phase cast action. Summits to drop our shield real quick. And you could use a sellout for this too. As soon as that shield's dropping, action skill, your action skill element doesn't matter. Oh, that's not good. But yeah, Shock Grave Ward. The damage of the Tiggs Boom isn't going to do anything for me here. It's genuinely just all in summoning those comets and getting as much damage. As you can see, the bossing potential of this build is insane. Hopefully Gearbox fixes these projectiles colliding with stuff. I know that the modding community has already fixed it, so maybe Gearbox will come around to fixing these projectiles. Probably should have had them fixed before we released this build, because now they're just gonna, who knows. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you have any questions, because this is more of a complicated build than some of my other ones, be sure to drop by the Twitch stream and ask me anything that you want. I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.
I was putting in the